Jeremy RIFKIN, dans votre livre sur la troisième révolution industrielle, vous parlez beaucoup du pouvoir latéral qui va arriver en complément du pouvoir centralisé qui aujourd'hui dirige notre économie. Qu'est-ce que vous entendez par ce pouvoir latéral?
You know, it's interesting. Let me back up a little bit. The great economic revolutions in history occur when new energy regimes emerge. When new energy regimes emerge, they make possible more complex living environments. But it's the sheer complexity that new energy regimes bring online. They then require new communication revolutions to manage and coordinate the new energy regimes. Every great economic revolution in history has been a convergence of communication and energy. The second industrial revolution is now fading, but now the third industrial revolution is emerging, and it requires another infrastructure. The European Union has committed itself formally to a 5-pillar third industrial revolution infrastructure to move us to laterally scaled commerce across the world. I was privileged to develop this plan for the European Union. This is the formal plan endorsed by the Parliament in 2007, and now it's working its way through the European Commission and in the member states. Here are the pillars. Pillar 1, the EU is committed to 20% renewable energy by 2020. That's not a suggestion. That's a mandate. Every community, every region has to reach that goal. That means a third of the electricity has to be renewable. I should say Germany's already at 20% green electricity and heading to 35% green electricity within 8 years from now, way ahead. Pillar 2, how do we collect energies that are distributed and found everywhere? Now, our first thought was, well, we'll go to Italy and Spain and Greece. They have a lot of sun. We'll put in some big solar parks, a high voltage electricity line, and ship it off to Europe. The Irish have a lot of offshore wind. The Norwegians have a lot of hydro. Centralize it and ship it. And we began to ask a question, if distributed energies, renewable energies, are found everywhere, why are we only concentrating them in a few points? Then it dawned on us. We were using 20th century thinking based on fossil fuels and uranium for nuclear power, where you have to go to a few points and then centralize it across the region. This got us to pillar 2. We said, wait a minute, if renewable energies are everywhere in Europe, how do we collect them? Infrastructure, buildings, buildings, buildings. We have 191 million buildings in the European Union. Homes, office, factories, buildings. The goal is to convert every single existing building into your own personal green micro power plant. So you can collect sun off the roof, vertical wind off the side of the building, geothermal heat under the building, garbage converted energy in the buildings. The new buildings will be positive power. And Bouygues has created the central invention of the third industrial revolution, the positive power building. I cannot express how important this is. The invention of the positive power building is as significant in the third industrial revolution as Daimler-Benz's invention of the internal combustion engine in the second industrial revolution. But then we have a problem with this. Pillar 3, storage. The sun isn't always shining on the Bouygues building. The wind isn't always blowing. Sometimes the wind's blowing at night, you need the electricity during the day. Water tables can be down because of climate-induced drought, and then your hydroelectricity suffers. These are intermittent energies. We've got to find a way to store them. So I'm in favor of all storage. Flywheels. I know Bouygues is working with flywheels. Batteries, flow batteries, capacitors, water pumping. I like them all. We all like them. So those are the first 3 pillars. We go to renewable energies. We convert every single existing building to your own power plant. The new buildings will be positive power. Bouygues has created the key invention. Pillar 3, we have to store these energies because they're intermittent so we can have reliability on the grid, peak and base loads. Pillar 4 is where the nervous system comes in. We take off-the-shelf internet technology, IT technology, and we transform the electricity and power lines of Europe to an energy internet, a distributed smart grid. So that when millions and millions of buildings are producing just a little bit of their own green electricity, storing it in hydrogen like you store media in digital, then if you don't need some of that electricity in your factory or office or home at a certain moment of the day or week, your software on the energy internet can direct you to sell your energy across that energy internet from the Irish Sea to the very edge of Eastern Europe, just like we now create our own information, store it in digital, share it online. Pillar 5 is the last pillar, and of course That's transportation and logistics. Electric vehicles are out. Fuel cell vehicles, cars, buses, and trucks will be in mass production, Daimler, GM, the other companies, in 2015. You'll be able to plug in your electric and fuel cell vehicles anywhere where there are buildings and infrastructure or industrial technology parks, residential communities. Plug in anywhere in the meters and get green electricity from the grid, or keep your plug in the meter, and if your computer in your car or truck or bus says the electricity price has just gone up, your software can be programmed so you sell some of your electricity back to the grid, and you're making money. These 5 pillars I've just laid out, alone, they're nothing. They're components. They're worthless. It's only when you combine them and lay down these 5 pillars as nodal infrastructures in each city, each suburb, each rural area across continents that we have a mega technology platform for a third industrial revolution. Now here's my word of caution, because Bouygues, interesting enough, I mentioned Bouygues in my book, because Bouygues is in all 5 pillars. Bouygues is the actual poster child of a third industrial revolution company, because you're into the new energies, pillar 1. Pillar 2, you have invented the positive power building of the future. Pillar 3, you're working on storage technologies. Pillar 4, Alstom, you're working with Alstom, and you're working on the energy internet. And pillar 5, you're deeply involved in transport and logistics. You have all the divisions in place to be the center of networks that can begin laying down infrastructure in every single region of Europe and then the rest of the world. I think Bouygues is ideally positioned to make a great contribution to the world economy and to society in the 21st century.
Un sondage vient de paraître qui dit que 2 Français sur 3 sont pessimistes sur leur avenir. Est-ce que vous pouvez leur donner un peu de votre enthousiasme et leur donner quelques conseils pour retrouver le goût de l'audace?
The present moment, people are frightened because they see a world that's coming apart. They see an economy where all the fundamentals don't seem to work anymore. And they're not sure where we go in this. They know austerity is not enough. Austerity is essential, but how do you regrow an economy just on austerity? They see all these new reforms, market reforms, labor reforms, fiscal reforms, sure, but that's essential, but that doesn't grow a new economy by itself. But what's happened is we don't yet have the story of what comes next. When people don't know the new story and the old story is dying, they're frightened. As you know at Bouygues, we have the new story. There are companies all over the world that have this new story, and industries and communities are beginning to do this. Companies like Bouygues, you got to spread the word. I know you're developing the networks, you're working with other industries. We've got to move this narrative around the world quickly. We've got to understand that the technology is here, and what we say to those who are pessimistic, have heart. The human race is very, very resourceful. We're in a crisis now, but we are a very inventive creature, and if we could create the internet, and in 25 years, 2.3 billion people, for almost no cost, could send their own information, video, audio, and text to each other, we can certainly close the deal by joining the internet with energy through our buildings and let billions of people create their own power and set up an infrastructure for a laterally based commercial society. This can be done.